Hi guys, Mr. McCartney here. This is another Loom video for you for BTEC Media Studies. This is actually the second video that I've done in the last few days. The first one decided not to upload for me on Friday, which was quite frustrating, but there you go. So this is just another video that goes with the other videos that I've done so far, which is all about, if you can see on the screen in front of you, all about creating a portfolio of evidence showing experimentation with production techniques. So you should be familiar with what the focus is at the moment, because since we've gone into lockdown, the key focus has been component 2, learning aim A. So I haven't shifted away from that and kind of danced around from one thing to the next. It's all about building this portfolio of evidence, showing how you've experimented with a whole variety of things, such as you should know by now, image manipulation techniques, photographs and taking different kind of camera shots outside, either external, internal. So experimenting with that, lighting and settings, using Canva, designing front cover kind of mock-up designs, using your cover online, all that kind of stuff, all that work needs to be documented and evidenced in a portfolio. So that's what we're trying to do at this moment in time. So if you have a little scan down the right hand side of the green box just here, and I'll just walk through for you what the lesson outcomes are for this PowerPoint video lesson. To experiment with media production skills and techniques, which we should know by now. To practice creating thumbnail drawings for a new advert or poster of your choice. And so the focus is going to be about thumbnail drawings. And so you are going to need a bit of paper. You are going to need ideally a pencil, a ruler, because you are going to be doing some kind of hand-drawn things for me off the back of this PowerPoint. And then to convert these thumbnails into a finished product, so you will then need to, whatever you design by hand, you'll then need to convert into something for me using ideally a computer. If you haven't got a computer, then I guess you can convert what you hand draw for me into a finished product on a piece of paper. But ideally, the idea behind it is that you go from stage 1 where you hand draw something, a bit like an art lesson, and then stage 2 would be to then convert that into a finished product. So you'll need a computer ideally. And as it says at the bottom there, as I keep saying in a lot of these PowerPoint videos, to show each stage of the process from initial ideas to final poster. Okay, so if we carry on, you should be familiar with this. Obviously, it would have been more ideal if we were in the classroom at the moment and I could walk you through it. But this is just a breakdown of component 2, learning aim A, where if you just scan at the top for me, where it says that learners, which is you, will participate in workshops and classes to develop media production skills and techniques appropriate to one or all of the following media sectors. So as you can see, if you scroll down, you've got planning skills, skills and techniques for creating content, and then you've got skills and techniques for combining, shaping, and refining content. And then within each kind of block, you've got the 3 media sectors highlighted. So audio, moving image, publishing, interactive, audio, moving image, publishing, interactive, and so on. And as you can clearly see, I have put I've ring fenced, I've put like a black box around the publishing tasks. And so if you have a little look at those ones, because you don't have to do everything on that slide there, because it would just be an insurmountable task to do in any course, you will see that a lot of those things you've already trialed, you've already done. Okay, so things like mood boards, things like mock-up designs and stuff like that. If you keep going down, writing and editing copy. Well, copy is just text, basically. It's like writing an article. But we also need to have a go at writing copy for a variety of different things. And that's something that I'm going to put a video together on by the end of this week, ready for next week. Things like taking photographs, which you've done. Being able to crop things and resize images using image manipulation techniques. Hopefully you have used pixel art to do that. That's why I created a PowerPoint and a video all about how to use pixel art, so you can demonstrate your skills in cropping, scaling, resizing, adding colors, adding filters, experimenting with layers and different things like that, superimposing things on top of one another. Those are the kind of things that you need to do. Also creating graphics. Well, I created a video and a PowerPoint all about using Canva. So if you went onto that lesson and you created like a variety of logo designs and things like that, that will have ticked that. but not everything within the black kind of boxes that is circled in there, not everything has to be done, but the majority of things have to be done, okay? And again, if you look towards the bottom, things like typography, use of colour, again, we've already tapped into or touched upon a few of those things. And obviously over the next few weeks before we break up for the summer, I will want you to do 1 or 2 more things for me just before we finish. So hopefully by the time you come back in September, which is the plan for all the rest of your subjects, you'll be in a strong position to then show me in your folders on computers that you've done all these different things, because that's the main focus. The first lesson back, the first week back, I'm going to say, right, even though some of you have done this and some of you have sent me these things during lockdown, I want all of you to kind of gather it all up together and put it into a folder for me and show me exactly what you've done, what you've achieved, okay? And like I've said before many times, the more work that you've done during this lockdown period, the more of these tasks you've done for me, the less work you'll have to do when you come back in September, and the less work you'll be doing for me on this topic in October and November, because a lot of you, as I know, have done lots of these different things, and so I'm very appreciative of those that have really tried to do some work. Those of you that haven't, obviously you'll have a little bit of work to do when you come back. Hopefully it won't be too much of a mountain to climb, but it depends on how much work you've done in your own time. Okay, okay, rant over. Let's move on to the next bit. So very quickly then, obviously if you look to where the arrows are pointing, so level 2 distinction 1, this is obviously the highest level descriptor in the criteria above. So to demonstrate comprehensive development, so that's thorough development of media production skills and techniques through creative, experimental, practical work. So that's what we're trying to achieve at the moment, okay? And so in order to get into that box, you need to make sure that you are evidencing the things that you do. You need to make sure that you're adding annotations where they are applicable, where they are relevant. If you just show me a finished product, for instance, with your cover, if you just showed me your cover, your final finished front cover, or with Canva, if you just showed me a final finished design and you didn't actually throw in any annotations in there or any text to explain the things that you've chosen, the font styles you've gone for, the colours you've gone for, or with your camera shot activity, if you didn't explain to me how you took those cameras, those particular camera shots, what kind of angles you've been trying to experiment with, how you've tried to use lighting techniques, and so on and so on. If you don't walk me through what you've done, and you just kind of give me stuff and expect it to speak for itself, well, you're not going to be in the distinction level criteria. Okay, you'll show me relevant experimental practical work, but I want actual thorough detailed analysis that goes alongside it as well. Okay, so you need to be trying to do those things. So before you just send me something and say, right, this is what I've done today, well, actually try and throw in some annotations in there to show me your knowledge of other things as well, to show me your thinking and your thought processes around it. Okay, so that's the key thing that you need to do. Okay, that basically just reiterates what I've just said, but by all means, at this stage on the video, you can press pause. Obviously, I'll send out this PowerPoint as well, but you can have a little read of it. But that basically just reiterates everything I've just said. So I'm going to get into what this actual lesson is about, because I don't want to keep droning on and boring you. So thumbnails then. Does anyone know what these are? Obviously, if it was a conventional lesson and we were in the classroom, I'd obviously wait at this point for a minute or so and see what you think, getting you to talk to somebody next to you, which you probably can't do. But as it says on the slide, it's got nothing to do with your fingers. Obviously, well, let's go around this. So thumbnails, some of you, I will just say this before we move on, a lot of you will know what thumbnails are in the context of media studies. You'll know what it is by another name, and that'll become very clear in a moment. Okay, but they call it thumbnails. I'm not too sure what the reason is, but it is something that a lot of you, if not all of you, have done in the past many times. Okay, so thumbnails. Our focus obviously is on understanding what thumbnails are and how they can be used to organize initial ideas. And thumbnails are basically very small sketches that give a quick impression of the layout of a page, cover, or double page spread. They can be used to create flat plans. So basically that's kind of like just a broad kind of overview of something, to show a quick overview of what will be on each page of a magazine or an advert. And the following slides are excellent examples of how thumbnail ideas lead to a finished product. So this is just a quick example for you of what has been done in the past, what students have done in the past. As you can see, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but having said that, these thumbnail drawings are really effective at showing a whole variety of different ideas, but obviously all geared towards the same message. In this case, it's not really for a product, it's actually for kind of a bit of a message, which is about Act Now. It has a bit of a kind of a political message around it. The next slide shows it off in a little bit more detail, so just bear with me. So basically this is the finished product. So as you can see, from simple straightforward drawings which can be done on a piece of A4 or a piece of A3, you can put a few different ideas together on an A3 sheet if you have an A3 sheet. If you have some A4, just blank pages, then try and maybe put on one per side or something like that. Would be good. I wouldn't try to use one side of A4 to kind of put on lots of really mini designs for something, because obviously it's just going to look really crowded. So you need to do it across a few different pages. But you can see how on this initial stage, so if we call this stage 1, this will be where the student has obviously got their ideas together. I've not given you a task yet, I've not given you a brief yet, so don't worry if you sat there thinking, well, what would I do it about? Because we haven't got to that bit in the PowerPoint yet, so don't worry. But this is the bit where the students, acting on a brief that they've been given by, like I say, a company, like an industry style brief, or by their teacher, will then create some initial ideas by hand using a pencil, ideally rather than a pen, because if you make any mistakes you can't really rub anything out, so just bear that in mind. So pencil, ruler is the way to go for this. Obviously try and get your hands on a rubber as well, just in case you make a few errors and things like that. But remember, this is kind of just sketching out some initial ideas. It is not, can I just say, it is not that kind of mock-up design where you just put boxes kind of on the page and say, right, I'm going to put this in this box, I'm going to put that in that box, and I might put this here or put that there. This is kind of evolving from that. This is kind of like the next phase of that, if you like. Okay, so this is where you actually, with by hand, with a pencil, start putting some ideas together and try your best to be as artistic as you can. Okay, use this PowerPoint and this video to give you a little bit of inspiration when it comes to what you could do. Okay, but then from that, the student, or in the real world, in the context of obviously in the private sector, if you worked for a company and you were paid to actually create the advert, obviously either yourself or the company would then say, right, I like all your ideas, however I like this one and I like that one. Can you go away and convert those two into actual proper kind of finished products, like finished kind of mock-up designs with colours and font styles, and really realize it as a finished product so we can look at it. And so that's what they then would have produced. Okay, what you're looking at now on this slide. Okay, so they've got two different posters. It is like a promotional kind of campaign from the looks of it. So the American Alliance for Theatre and Education National Conference, Act Now, in Washington DC. So it's just giving a little bit of information there about a particular kind of event that's taking place in Washington. As you can see, you've also got I think it's the Washington kind of monument there. I think that's what it is. And also you've got a symbol of Washington DC there. I don't know if it's the House of Congress or the Senate, I'm not too sure. I'm not American, as you know, but it's quite nice how they have blended that in to the actual typography style, which is quite clever, shows a lot of creativity. You can also see on both of the adverts as well that it's got a bit of national identity to it, because it's got the colours of America, those being white, blue and red, which obviously make up the American flag. Not so much the yellow on this side, to be honest with you. It looks like a mustard colour, which I don't really like. I think that one looks a bit cleaner, a bit sharper, but there you go. But obviously very similar, but those will be like two initial finished posters that could then obviously be given to the people that have commissioned this person to create these things for them. Okay. because that's what a lot of companies out there do in the private sector. They will be commissioned by somebody, be commissioned by, let's say, an advertising agency or a marketing agency to create the designs and put the designs together, and they'll be paid to do that because perhaps a company don't have the time themselves to do it, and they want obviously people who have got a better skill set in using particular programs that they don't know how to use themselves. Okay, so if we carry on. This again, just another example before I just explain to you what your task is going to be. This person, as you can see, with these designs, quite like these, I wonder if you can guess why. I don't know if you can see just around. It's a little bit faint in some areas, but you can just about see. This person has put obviously some annotations on there. The annotations, you could argue, could still be a little bit more detailed and they could be improved, because in some places this person has just said like centered, or just said white text there, gold text, black. So try obviously to develop your annotations into little mini paragraphs, if you like, around your work to try and give me a better understanding of how your layers are going to kind of be superimposed on top of each other, why you've chosen particular colors. So that's what this person hasn't really done. They've just said black font here or gold text there. Well, why? From previous PowerPoints and previous things that we've done in class and during the lockdown, where I've talked about the psychology of colour and the science behind it and the connotations. Remember, there are deeper meanings associated with colours, because obviously they have some kind of psychological effect on the consumer. So quite often, if you are promoting like a luxury product, colours like purple do create this kind of sophisticated meaning and connotation. Don't ask me why, but that's how it is. Maybe it's kind of ingrained in us from a young age to associate certain meanings in colours from when we're born. It probably has something to do with that. So it's kind of tied up with the psychology of it all and how we kind of our cognitive development in our brains. But obviously we are encouraged from a very young age to associate the colour gold, also a bit like purple, with that sense of luxury. Okay, and being a very expensive kind of colour. So that's why when you see adverts or you see posters, if they've got like a gold kind of band on a watch, then obviously you are encouraged to see that as being an expensive, luxurious product that you should aspire to want to have. Okay. So this person then, Cooper and Black, obviously at this stage we don't quite know what Cooper and Black is, but obviously this is the design phase. This is like stage one, and so from these initial ideas that someone has done with their thumbnails, they will then choose one or two designs to then convert and turn into a finished product using, ideally, as I said before, using computers. So you've got a few more ideas there. So yeah, I think this slide is quite good, quite interesting for what they've done. Really kind of artistic and creative. And you can also see as well, just before we move on, that there is quite a lot of diversity in it as well. So some of them are very, very different from the next one, from each other. So just bear that in mind as well. Quite interesting. And then, yeah, again, this person's done lots. And then finally, they converted it into these two finished products. Okay, so these are the finished posters. Okay. Okay. So this is your task then that I'd like you to have a go at doing for me this week. So if you look towards the top, your task responding to an industry style brief. The brief obviously is in the box at the top there. So I've just created just kind of a generic one just to get you started. A new fragrance or aftershave company has commissioned, which means paid, you to create an advert which will advertise their product. The company have two products, one for males and one for females. So I don't have a problem with you choosing either or. It's completely fine. So if you look down onto the white background here, look at these different things, this is basically what you need to do. So first of all, both products are targeting a younger demographic, so early to kind of late 20s. You are free to choose which advert you create. Like I just said, if you want to create a fragrance or aftershave advert for males, go for it. If you want to create one for females, that's fine. The company want you to create a series of A4 thumbnail sketches for them to review. Okay, so I've not put on there a particular amount, so I've not said that you have to do, like, say 3, but ideally if you just gave me just one drawing, I'd say, well, you need to do more. So I probably should have said this before, but I'd like you to create 3 to 5 hand-drawn thumbnail sketches by hand. Okay, try not to do it with a pen, because obviously then you are limiting yourself and how creative you can be, because you're just going to be worried about making a mistake because you can't rub it out. So try to get your hands on a pencil or two and a rubber and a ruler and some paper. If you're struggling with the paper issue, then obviously I've said to you that as this week goes on, you can be doing this task for me. So can you try and get yourself where it's safe, obviously, when like I said, when it's safe, try to get yourself to the corner shop or to a newsagent's or to WH Smith's if you go out or something at some point. And obviously, they'll be selling pads of paper there, which are reasonably cheap. You can get a pad of paper for less than £1. They're usually about 70-80 pence, something like that. So if you can get your hands on some paper, that'd be fantastic. If you can't, then just email me and we will have a chat about alternatives based on what you can get your hands on. If you have some spare pages, maybe in a knowledge organizer, which don't say that to Mr. Smith that I said that, but maybe you could take a couple of pages at the back. Obviously you've got lines on those pages, but if you have got a few spare pages and something like that that obviously haven't been used and are just going spare, then there's no problem in using that, really, is there? But that obviously is kind of the first part of this task, to do your thumbnail sketches by hand for a fragrance or aftershave advert of your choice. Okay, once you've done that, so obviously we're a bit kind of midway down here, once it's been completed, one of these designs will be chosen to be converted into a final product. If you want to take a picture of your thumbnail designs and then say to me, right, which one do you want me to convert, that's fine, I can choose for you. Or you can choose yourself. You don't need me to do that. But if you think, well, if you want me to act as, like, say, not the producer, the company, that's the word I'm looking for, and decide for you and say, right, yeah, those are great, that's the one that I'd like to actually go forward as the final design, then yeah, email some pictures to me and then I can pick which one I think you should actually go and convert into a proper finished product. So once your designs have been done, you then need to go online, ideally go onto a computer and start using things like Canva or Pixlr or Word, whatever kind of program you want to use, but you need to show me how you've then converted your hand-drawn thumbnail sketch into a finished product. If you want to actually take pictures of yourself or siblings or friends as well, obviously bearing in mind safety and things like that, and whatever is available to you, to then be converted into your final kind of design, a bit like how you've got these two designs just here on the right hand side, then that's fine. If you just want to use somebody off the internet, like off Google Image, and kind of put them into your advert as well when you are designing it, go for it, that's fine as well, not a problem with it. The only other thing I will say is that if you've got any A3 paper as well, that'd be great, because obviously you've got a bit of space, so you could break up your A3 sheet into a couple of boxes on either side, so you could maybe get 2 sketches per side of A3, so then you've got 4 different designs, but try to aim for 3 to 5 thumbnail sketches. If you want me to look at them and then pick, that's great, but remember, just doing the thumbnail sketches is one thing, you then need to actually get them converted into your final design. Okay, and that's the key thing that I'd like you to do for me. But if you look on Google Image at fragrance adverts for males and fragrance adverts for females, it took me 2 seconds to kind of just knock these two up and put them onto the PowerPoint slide. You've got one of Ryan Reynolds just there, you've got one of, I think it's Jessica Chastain just there, so 2 very well-known actors, one obviously advertising Hugo Boss Sport, and as you can see from the kind of representation of Ryan Reynolds, I'm sure it's not lost on you how he's coming across quite masculine because of his jacket and the colours and the image of the city behind him. Obviously, it all kind of is very cleverly constructed to invoke this image of masculinity and how he is this kind of aspirational male, ambitious male, driven, and wearing nice clothes, and in the city, so perhaps living that kind of free and easy single life maybe, and he's a man on the go. And again, if you look at the bottle, the kind of masculine shape of it, the colours, the black at the top, the kind of cloudy kind of glass that you've got, the way that you are drawn to the red kind of text of sport, so it shines out a little bit more. Again, that all kind of is wrapped up in that masculine ideology that males should wear stuff like this. They should be interested in looking good, spelling good. They should be interested in sport as well. The bottom one, a bit similar, Jessica Chastain, again, in terms of how she's, what she's wearing, very cleverly constructed to appear as a bit more of a counter type. But the bottle itself, you could say, is quite feminine in terms of the colours. But both of these adverts are constructed in a way that try to put pressure on males and females in society today, in the current kind of zeitgeist of the 21st century, to to be a certain way. So if you're a man, you should be like Ryan Reynolds. If you're a female, you should aspire to be like Jessica Chastain. Okay, so those are just two kind of images that you could use as a bit of inspiration, and that's it for this loom lesson. If you've got any problems whatsoever, please just get in touch with me. Please email me, either obviously using email or on Teams, and we can have a chat. But just give it a go. So just to reiterate finally, to sum up, the first thing that you need to do, once obviously you've read the brief on this slide, is to create your thumbnail sketches, 3 to 5 thumbnail sketches by hand using a pencil, obviously. If you want to add a little bit of colour to it, that's okay. I've got a problem with that, but try to obviously create for me 3 to 5 thumbnail sketches, and then either I can choose one that I really like, or you can do it yourself to then convert using programs on the internet that we've used so far. If you're not sure how to use things like Pixel or Canva, then obviously I've done videos on that. That's still on the main YouTube channel. Okay, so I'll leave it there with you guys. Give it your best shot. Any problems, get in touch. Okay, and have a nice day.